You stayed loyal to your job. You paid for the whole table. You voted like they told you. And you still apologized first when someone else bumped into you. Here's what nobody told you. Every single one of those moves cost you. Not metaphorically, not in some vague self-worth way. Financially, socially, politically, psychologically. 4 systems, 4 lies, 1 generation that got handed rules that were already broken before they arrived. This isn't about being angry. Anger burns the same fuel you need to actually move. This is about running the real numbers on your career, your social life, your government, and your own head. We're going to follow one person through all 4. His name is Alex. He graduated in 2023. He did everything right. And by the numbers, he was losing in every single category without knowing why. By the end of this, one of these 4 is going to land different for you. You already know which one. The average raise if you stay at your company, 3%. The average raise if you leave, 15 to 30%. Bureau of Labor Statistics, 2024. Alex stayed loyal for 2 years. He makes $58K. Priya switched twice in the same window. She makes $94K. Same degree, same graduation year, same city, different math. And it's not a personality thing. It's not that Priya is more confident or more aggressive. She just read the contract more carefully than anyone told Alex to. The contract that was rewritten in the 80s. Without him, companies eliminated pensions in the 80s. They shifted retirement risk onto you through the 401k. They called it freedom. What they meant was, you're on your own now. So Gen Z didn't break the loyalty contract. They showed up after it was already shredded. The people who penalize you for job hopping are the same people who canceled the deal that made loyalty worth anything in the first place. That's not cynicism, that's just the timeline. At 8 years old, you sat next to someone in class, and by lunch you were best friends. At 26, you exchanged numbers at a party, say we should hang sometime, and never text again. Nobody talks about how genuinely strange that is, or how lonely it actually gets. Alex has 11 people he'd call acquaintances at work. 0 he could call at 2 in the morning. He goes to the company happy hour every Thursday. He hasn't had a real conversation in 3 weeks. The building is full, the room is empty. Research on adult friendship, Rollins, 1992, replicated since, points to 3 conditions: proximity, repeated unplanned interaction, a setting that encourages vulnerability. Your job checks 0 of those boxes. Meetings are scheduled, conversations are professional, the stakes are your rent. Which is why your coworkers are not your friends. Not because you're bad at people, but because the environment is structurally wrong for it. The people who seem to naturally have a social life didn't get lucky. They accidentally ended up in better environments. That's a design problem. And design problems have design solutions. Median age of first home purchase in 2025, 40 years old. In 1980, 29, NAR, 2025. Productivity is up 77% since 1979. Real wages barely moved. Economic Policy Institute, 2024. We just hit a 22-year record for corporate layoffs in a single month, while stock markets were at all-time highs. Congress has a 96% re-election rate, with a 20% approval rating. Gen Z was handed the promise: work hard, get a degree, buy a house, start a family, retire comfortably. The average first-time buyer is now 40. The math on that promise doesn't work anymore. It's not a motivation problem. City council decisions control zoning laws. Zoning laws control housing supply. Housing supply controls your rent. Vienna solved housing at scale. Germany built a functional apprenticeship system. France has worker protections that didn't collapse its economy. These aren't utopias. They're policy choices made at the local and national level, over decades, by people who showed up to meetings that had almost no one in the room. The deal isn't broken because it's impossible to fix. It's broken because fixing it is profitable, for someone else. The question isn't whether the system can change, it's who shows up to change it. You reread a message 12 times trying to decode the tone. You paid for the whole table because saying no felt worse than the bill. You changed your personality depending on who was in the room. Quieter with some, louder with others, always slightly off from yourself. And after all of that, they still didn't stay. Because what you were presenting wasn't you. It was a version of you built entirely to manage other people's reactions. That version is expensive, and the currency it runs on is the same energy you need for everything else. Most people are too busy managing their own performance to actually judge yours. The spotlight you feel, the one that makes you rehearse conversations, apologize preemptively, shrink in rooms. It's not real. What is real is the energy you burn maintaining a character nobody requested. That energy has a price. You've been paying it daily, invisibly, before you even start the actual work of your life. The first thing that changes when you stop is that everything else gets a little more possible. Alex graduated in 2023. Took the first job offer. Stability, he told himself. Stayed 2 years. Got the 3% raise. Tried to make friends at work. Kept it surface level because anything deeper felt unprofessional. Voted presidential, never local. Never even knew when local elections were. And at the company happy hour, bought a round for 8 people he barely knew because saying no felt worse than $60 he didn't have. He was playing the game. Every single rule. The problem is he inherited the 2003 rulebook. One Tuesday, he sat down and ran the actual numbers. Career, roughly 36K behind market rate for his role and experience. Friends, 7 acquaintances, 0 people he could call at 2 in the morning. Voting record, 1 presidential vote, 0 local. Identity, 4 different versions of himself depending on the room, and none of them fully his. He didn't feel like a failure. He felt like someone who had been playing the right game on the wrong board for 2 years straight. He didn't rebuild his entire life in a month. He made 4 moves. He applied to 2 roles he was technically underqualified for on paper, got one. He found an online community built around something he actually cared about, made 1 real connection. He registered for local elections, showed up to 1 city council meeting, realized he wasn't the only person in his 20s there, and he stopped apologizing when someone else bumped into him. 4 small moves. Not a transformation, a recalibration. Different game, different math. None of this is a reason to be angry. Anger is expensive. It burns the same fuel you need to actually move. What this is information. The deal changed. The rules changed. The people who are winning right now, not the ones born into money, the ones who built something real from the same starting point. They're winning because they stopped optimizing for a version of the game that doesn't exist anymore. They're not smarter, they're not tougher, they just updated the map. So here's the updated map. Check your salary against market rate every 6 months, not when you feel underpaid, every 6 months. Build 1 real friendship this year, not 10 surface level connections. 1. Vote in every local election, not just presidential, and stop performing for rooms that aren't watching. That's it. Not a 5-step program, not a morning routine, 4 adjustments to 4 systems that were already broken. That's the whole thing. The system wasn't designed for you. Your job is to design around it, quietly, efficiently, without asking permission. If this hits somewhere specific, share it with 1 person who needs the math. Drop a comment on which of the 4 landed hardest: the career, the friends, the politics, or the head. I read every single one. And if you've been here before, you already know what's coming next.